The order, first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion passes. Next item is the consent agenda.
I move that we have a consent agenda
Don't get fancy. There was enough wording in there. that we can-
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that one. Been moved and second, all in favor say aye. All opposed nay. Motion passes. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak to something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Special reports and presentations, Arbor Day proclamation. Roger, you want to come up with me? This is a long one. This is our long one every year, so let me read it over there. So this is proclamation of the city of Baldwin City, Kansas, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. Whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than a million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Trees in our city increase property values and enhance the economic vitality of business areas and beautify our community. And trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And the city of Baldwin City has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Now therefore, I, Casey Semino, Mayor of the city of Baldwin City, Kansas, with the support of the City Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the city of Baldwin City. I call upon all residents of Baldwin City to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you, Roger. Thank you. I'll just expand on that a little bit. A lot of people don't realize that in Baldwin, we actually have a tree board. So anytime that the city is contemplating removing a tree or designing a new space, we always reach out to the tree board for suggestions on what we should do or what we should replant in that space to help accentuate the area. So if you ever need any of those questions, reach out to Roger. We'll be happy to do the research and give you suggestions. Next, under special reports and presentations is the Peasley Technical Training Center.
Hello, good evening. Our CEO, Kevin Kelly, was planning to be here, but he had something come up. So I am actually new to the company, so hopefully I can represent the company well this evening. I am Andrea Chavez, and I actually grew up here. I graduated from Baldwin, so I know some of you, and you may speak to me possibly. Anyways, I am the executive director of grants and administration for Peasley Tech, and every year Kevin typically comes and updates each community that we serve in Douglas County. So of course Baldwin is one of those. We are a catalyst. Oh, here's my PowerPoint. Catalyst for economic growth, just providing training and to like a diverse population within our community for employers, and our biggest communities we serve are Douglas County communities. So just a little bit about us on our slide, just our vision, our values. I'm not really going to go through all that, but just kind of an update for everybody. We started programs in 2017, and this is just kind of an overview of the programs that we've started, and we've gone This year alone, I've submitted 3 new programs, but 2017, as you can see, we focused a lot on manufacturing, OSHA, some pharmacy tech. Go on to the next slide. And then 18 went into doing a lot of the residential plumbing, electrician, maintenance, and we started apprenticeships, which is actually a grant that I'm under, which is one of these slides later on. And then 2019 started a whole slew of others between dental assistant, medical, auto body repair, welding. 2020 had a few, not so many, but robotics is actually a big one that we're focusing on right now. We're doing an apprenticeship with a lot of companies in Lawrence. And that's one of my things to you guys today. We just received this grant, which 2021, some others, which I'll go into in a minute. But we received this grant. It's a 5-year grant, and it's focused on apprenticeships. And so, you know, we're really trying to expand into your traditional apprenticeship, where you think of, you know, plumbing, mechanics, carpentry, welding, things like that. But we're also expanding that into, we're going to do a lot of facility maintenance, robotics, one we just wrote, a court reporter we've submitted, we're waiting for approval on that. Just a whole slew with this grant that we're able to create new ones that aren't even approved by the Department of Labor yet that we're pushing to get approved. So that's very exciting for our communities because we want to utilize your businesses and you know, if you guys have the huge one right now is the CDL. We just got approved because with the new law on February 7th, that changed a whole line of rules and regulations that accrediting that you have to have your permit prior to that date in order to not have to take all this other training. So that's been huge. The city alone has put in through a ton, plus a bunch of other companies. So if you guys are, you know, have anybody in mind, reach out to me. I might have cards if you want any. So we, you know, would love to assist you in any of those needs. And then we did just have the Crunch is our new business igniter and prototyping. We are open that. We just had the ribbon cutting on March 29th, so that was really exciting. If you go to the next, it's this facility in the back of our building. We created office spaces, a media room. We have 3D printing lab. And so we want to be a space where, you know, new companies can come in and utilize the space if they don't have any office space or just have ideas. We have instructors that are skilled that can assist them in all kinds of ways so that they can, you know, hopefully get their business off and moving. So we have a link on our website where you can apply and see if, you know, right now, and it's free of cost. So it costs new people nothing to come use that facility. This is the grant I was talking about. So it's called the State Apprenticeship Expansion, Equity, and Innovation Grant. We were one of 11, I believe, companies to receive it. So that was really exciting. And of course, we are the Kansas's #1 apprenticeship program provider. So, you know, we are expanding that as well. Next slide. Oh, there we go. And then the next biggest piece to my update is we are pushing a bylaw revision that will result for our Peasley's board to be appointed by the Douglas County Commission. So what that is, we're hoping to be added as a percentage to the levy tax instead of having to submit to the budget every year. So it's actually a wash when it comes to the funding. It just will not be added to the budget. It'll come from the levy tax. So that will ensure our stability and growth for years to come without having to submit proposals for grants every year. And that's about all of it. Any questions?
Who's your verification?
In Kansas, not really anybody. We are kind of one of a kind in that we are a technical training center. So there's your community colleges and things like that that train, you know, that have residential plumbing and those kind of programs. But we actually, if you come to Peasley Technical Training Center, you as the student will leave never have any debt when you leave. Everything, we will ensure that everything's paid for by the time you're done, whether that's with a grant that we received or a voucher, something. So there's really not anybody that I'm aware of that does that in Kansas.
So, people will come to you on walk-ins.
They come, so a lot of our referral through, or like the employers already, want to send their people to be, get licensed, so in a field, so it could be that they're currently just working for a plumber, but they want them to get certified. So that's a lot of, but we also, of course, have walk-ins, people who will just get on the website and enroll in a class as well, so.
Thank you.
And we have third-party people that we go through on our website so they can do online for like a lot of the medical field ones.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank Next, Main Street presentation.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council members. Thank you so much for allowing us at Main Street to have a moment to catch you up on what's happening in our Main Street program currently. As you know, Baldwin City received notice of acceptance into the Main Street program in the spring of 2021. Committees were formed and information disseminated, including personal meetings with each board member to discuss what Main Street was all about. We received the official go-ahead to begin work after our visit from Kansas Main Street December 13th and 14th. But let's talk hard numbers. So Main Street by the numbers, make it quick and easy for you. We were 4 months into the project. We had 9 board members that we have now expanded into 13 board members, to include all of the Main Street Committee chairpersons who now sit on our board. We have 4 committees. We have 55 total community members sitting on committees. We have 396 hours invested to date, excluding the hours of the executive director. We have 60 downtown businesses. We did 1 Main Street analysis survey, which was conducted from the input of over 460 community members who took part in identifying strategy development to guide the work of the Main Street committees. 8 projects have been developed by each committee, 1 for the design committee, 4 for the promotions committee, 2 for the organization committee, and 1 for the economic vitality committee. We have had 1 HEAL grant that's been awarded now to a downtown business recipient, for which I cannot name because they will not allow us to go public with it yet. But we have been awarded, or shall I say, one of our downtown businesses has been awarded a $40,000 plus grant with support from the Baldwin City Main Street program. And we've had 4 opportunities thus far that have been offered for educational webinars for small businesses. We now also have 1 fundraiser planned coming up, the Farmer and Craft Market, which will be held each 3rd Friday from June through September. So Main Street is rocking. And we are in the midst of a very exciting project right now, and that involves the Baker University students and Professor Kevin McCarthy, who I would like to introduce to you now and allow him to take over the podium, and I will step back and allow Kevin to tell you all about this exciting project that we are involved with in collaboration with Baker University.
Thank you very much, Lori, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is a very interesting opportunity for students, of course, to learn. We put that first of all, that this is a learning opportunity, but it's also an opportunity to connect Baker and the Baldwin City community yet in another way. So as I understood the evolution of the Main Street project, I realized that a marketing research class would have an opportunity to, well, assist with the expectations of community engagement and sort of setting some baseline foundation work. And so I've recruited gladly, they signed up for this and said they would love to help Four of them are, four of the team members are with me tonight, and will share their perspectives. Earlier I said, well, any one of them could handle this presentation. I mean, that's how teams work, right? They are that ready. The other five have commitments, sports, one's ill, one's, well, you know, but let me get out of the way and and you can hear from students here as well. Thank you. Also, we'll be very conscious of your time, and so if somebody give us the signal, right, that we've said too much, but we would love to hear questions from you as well.
So just going into a brief background of the project. So we really want to draw in with Main Street with the history. So the Santa Fe Trail, and then a lot with the Maple Leaf Festival, and also when you guys do this Smoke on the Bricks for the barbecue, that brings a lot of people into Baldwin City, and that's what Main Street is really known for. So using that history and background of Baldwin City, we want to use that to expand with the Main Street project, as well as Baldwin is known for the most green energy leader in the state of Kansas. So 60% of Baldwin's energy is green. We also want to go into a little bit of background of Baker University. There's so many historics of Baker, as well as the trees you talked about earlier as well. And then the Baldwin City demographics and psychographics. So it's mainly made up of college students and then older demographics from 50 plus. There's not really a median of, I think it was about 12% of like median of like 30 to 50 age-wise, and then psychographics is really just really based on the college students and the campus and things like that. So that's just a brief background, and then we're going to move into what really Main Street America is.
So working with our partners, we wanted to better understand our objective, and that is why we did some background research on what Main Street America provides. They provide basic tools and methodologies to entice and support economic development in commercial districts, and they do this through three main steps. They do it through community engagement and market understanding. Then they use their 4-point strategy to transform the commerce center, and the impact is their last step is to impact their qualitative and quantitative outcomes.
So our research objective for this project is to conduct descriptive research through surveys and individual interviews to better understand downtown businesses as an input into forming a comprehensive strategy for continuing revitalization of the downtown district. So what we're really going to do is go make contact with the businesses through downtown, go talk to them, know their story, survey them, what they think that we can help improve through our market research, collecting data, things like that.
So then our three main steps are basically just the inputs like she just talked about. We basically created a survey that we're going to actually go and meet with all the different businesses around Baldwin, or the ones that will cooperate with us, of course. And then we're going to do transformative strategies. So this is basically just like we want to implement new strategies and how we can improve just the city itself, and especially Main Street. We want to just figure out like what they want from us. This is all about Main Street and not about us. We're just here to help them and do research for them, basically. And then what impacts can we have on the community? So just some potential project outcomes is assess business community involvement, basically just see what's going on, what they want to see more of, what they don't like, and what they do like. Provide a baseline for continuing revitalization. I mean, that's basically what Main Street is right there. What the Main Street project is all about. It's just continuing revitalization, making businesses better and whatnot. And then identify opportunities and limitations within the business ecosystem. So with this one, basically what we wanted to hit on is there's a lot of businesses on Main Street, Baldwin, that no one even knows about. Maybe just a business on the upstairs of one of the buildings that no one really talks about. Basically what we want to do is get that business out there and open so people know who they are and what they're about. So that's just what's going on. Our status as of today, we have access to a list of all the downtown businesses, and we have formed student teams that we have assigned to businesses. So as of right now, we're going to start contacting through email and phone to make appointments with these businesses, conduct a survey to get as much information as we can. And we're going to compile that collected data and create a report and presentation.
So these are just some limitations and potential concerns that we have. So just like Jackson said earlier, uncooperative businesses and their unresponsiveness. Like, we want to work with them, but if they don't want to work with us, that's okay. And then we have some templated items with like, we had our Main Street document here. If you just go down here, please. Yeah, so this is the Main Street document. We kind of updated a little bit. A lot of it was kind of stuff that we didn't need to know for our research, but for maybe Main Street research it was good. But as of right now, we're just kind of using a survey asking like if they're satisfied or not satisfied basically with how the building looks, things like that. So that's really the data that we're going to collect. And then the other one was just if there's online businesses, could be a limitation, things like that. They don't actually have a building, but they're working out of Baldwin City. So it'd be hard to contact there. But other than that, we don't really have any limitations. And we're really excited to do this for Baldwin City, not just because we want to help with growth, but because we are also part of Baldwin City through Baker. So it'd be great to see Baldwin expand in that way.
Awesome. That's basically what we have. If you got any questions?
I've got a comment. I'm very impressed. I'm glad you said that. And it's very refreshing to see the young people involved with the community. Fantastic.
Second, timelines for coming up with transformative strategies, and you have maybe it's aligned with the semester break, I don't know. Classes over.
So as of today, we broke up into, well, we already had our groups, but we finally got the list of 50 businesses that we'll be contacting. So we split that up in our groups of 2 and 4, and then we're going to contact them through email. If they don't have an email, through phone. Hopefully to get a date before, hopefully within this week, so like Thursday or Friday to meet with them, but within the beginning of next week as well. And then we'll take all the information that we gain from those surveys, compile it into Excel, do all the data, and then hopefully present it to you guys again before the semester breaks.
Makes sense, thank you.
Very good. Enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next, is old business street improvement plan. We agreed to leave this on the agenda, continue to discuss it. With a couple of council members out tonight, I know it's kind of difficult. But, Rob, do you have anything new to add to it?
Not a whole lot. I did bring hard copies of the updated maps. Jason Hoskinson bid these for us. He requested from me in work session the other night. This is the actual, I think, lots of looking at for phase 1. Street renovations. If you guys like a hard copy of that, I brought it up for everybody. Since our work session last Tuesday, I have had the guys out making some spot repairs on the bricks. A couple of areas on 8th Street and of course the 6th and High that was an intersection we spent a lot of time talking about. So as of right now, I haven't received any comments or feedback, positive or negative. And so I took the last of what we had from the first trial run, so I sent the guys up and got another 12 or 13 ton of that, so I've got a big pile of it. And I wanted to just double check with the council before we went any farther to make sure nobody had any objections to at least temporarily fixing some of these brick streets with cold mix asphalt.
Didn't have any impact over, at some point, if they wanted to redo that as a brick street. I mean, you're gonna pull the bricks every half an hour. I think the focus is on drivability right now. Until we can start implementing the plan. Focus on what? Drivability, so make it so it's a more pleasant drive as opposed to the aesthetics of just brick. So
We could come up with that with a long-term plan.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, and it's something we can afford to do this. It's not that expensive. It's asphalt, it's $95 a ton, so it's something we can afford to do. There's plenty of places for it to go. Days like today, I can send them out and just go.
We're not doing any, like, huge, like,
No.
half a block.
No, it's just gonna be the bad spots, we indicated 9th Street, Grove to High, there's some bad spots on 9th Street in general, but I mean, there's some spots that need it worse than others. So it'll be a temporary Band-Aid until we can come up with something more permanent, but it would make it nicer to have on temporarily.
Or you're going to kind of share the sentiment of not going overboard, you know, because then I think we might drive some comments, right? It's just, so I think, you know, the worst spots, and then it's kind of, okay, you know, there's the next level that we need to get to, just so we don't just blanket it.
We thought we'd ease into it with a few of the worst spots in 9th Street.
Yeah.
We haven't touched yet, so.
Yeah. Just keeping in my opinion.
We won't go overboard.
Yeah.
It's the worst spots.
Yeah, it'll never be completely good, just based on the bricks.
It'll be better, just like 6th and High is much better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Got more copies if you guys want.
But what I'd like, I guess, and feedback from you guys is I'd almost like to discuss it, this time in the next council meeting, maybe bring this plan back to vote on it as a form of kind of an adoption of phase one. And then now we have to move into, adopting it as phase one is not really going against our time. This is something like this. This is what we'd like to do, so we can start going out to the public.
And, will that increase, communicator for the council meetings? Is that after the surveys and?
No, absolutely not. I think at any point we can apply for grants. Typically, the TA grants come out like in November, December. So I'm hoping that we can front load this, do our community outreach ahead of time. And then if the council chooses to put it out for the decisions, and that's completed. And then now we apply for our TA grant. We already have the description that we have the funding mechanism for our maximum funds. But I'd like us to formally adopt this as phase one, so we can start going out to the public. I don't want to send this out to the public without the council.
Are you going to talk anything about the state budget, whether it's community basis?
Yeah, I'll be honest, and I know I took that on to go talk to President Baker. I haven't had the opportunity, so I have not had this discussion. I will by next meeting before we vote on this.
I'd like to know that.
We're gonna end this on 9th Street, is that right?
Yeah, on this
That's
way.
that road to High,
Just to think
by, straight down 9th Street. Go there, and turn west on High Street. And I'm not too sure where it's gonna be out.
Well, and that can always be, I mean, when we go to apply for these first grants, we're only going to be able to apply for like 3 blocks at a time. Yeah, so that is, I mean, this, it's kind of like our strategic plan, and from my viewpoint, is it can always be changed or added to or subtracted from, or whatever. It's just kind of a starting point to get started out with the public discussion.
I know there's one thing that we have a reference to, and that's the gentleman coming out to go to Holton. That came down and gave us the deal last summer, that was very interesting. I understand now that Berlin did it, it's starting to do the same thing that we're talking about here. We're doing the big streets.
And if you recall, the reason we kept it this way is because this includes all the historic districts. So,
Well, I think some really good, and you're already right. That's why I think it's different than what it's like. Because if Birmingham evidently started to do this, but they didn't start with sitting up there and use the side of the ground, but now they're going back on the ground there. And sitting there, I went out and living in the ground and everything. Very anyway, more than a few years, but it's a good one.
yeah, and I think the cost estimates we received from the BG was for concrete.
I'm sorry?
The cost estimates that we received from BG
Yeah.
was for concrete. So, I think that's the intent.
It should be, I don't know what, I mean, inches is involved, you know, if you're doing it before, you know.
Well, do you know that? I'd have to ask you.
Probably gonna be, the intersections will be a little thicker than just the typical streets, but the intersections may be 6, and the regular streets will probably be 4 inches of concrete,
But
with layer of
it's
sand,
underneath the brick before.
and be a layer of sand, and then brick, so. We're basically building.
They did the sand up the brick and then layer of sand, is that correct?
Cement,
Sand,
sand.
the sand,
And
and
it's
then,
wet in.
yeah, the bricks actually set on sand.
And then the floor on top of it's wet in.
You can use sand, you can use sand in Portland, we used to use tar, we put tar in between, and then we tried just about everything.
Sand is dry Portland?
That works for us.
Good. You know,
It's easier to get off if we have to pull them out, because the tars, you gotta have to.
You don't have to miss it. Definitely.
Oh, right, yeah.
We should probably leave that up to the expertise of the bricklayers.
I'm sorry.
So we should probably leave that up to the expertise of the bricklayers.
Well, now, wait a minute.
I'm just using your own terminology.
You know how long it took me to pick that word up? Expertise. You know?
All right, is there anything else on this agenda item? Okay, next, power generation. Same thing here, and I don't think we really have much doing this year.
Well, I'm going to put, yes, whether we have to. It was just an update. Regulations. I don't know if you have any other things coming up.
Jeff, I guess the project is here, can you just give a brief synopsis of that,
So basically what I sent to them last week was indication that I'm pursuing a couple of used Caterpillar units from High Plains Power. I'll give you a couple reasons why. First one being that they're old enough units that they can be, have catalysts hung on them, and they can be a registered unit, which is, I think, what we want for one thing. The fact that it's used keeps our costs down. And then since then, after he gave us a quote, and the quote was for two 1,600 kW units, that would, just as a budgetary number, between 500 and 600,000 each. After he gave me that number, I asked him what it would take to change the generator ends on these engines to the correct voltage, which we need, which would eliminate the need for a transformer. He said he didn't know of any used units of that voltage, so I asked him about new units, and he came back with last week a Marathon generator that he could hang on the end of these units, so that we would have new generators on the end of a used engine. So I think that is another positive thing, because the generators have a shorter lifespan than what most of the engines do themselves. So the generator would fail quicker than the engine would, more than likely. I think we're kind of seeing that at the downtown plant. I guess at this point, we're looking at, and he thought, to give an update, he thought that would probably add to the price of about $50,000 per unit. So we're looking at maybe 650 units right now. That doesn't include the actual physical install, but it would include all the switchgear, everything we need, except for the install and for hooking up to our SCADA. The next step, he's going to come down, I believe, next week and bring a team of switchgear guys down so he can give us a more accurate figure on the switchgear part of it. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Thank you for the tour.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for the tour.
Sure.
Enjoyed it. I'm really impressed with the information that your people put out as well as yourself. I think we feel very comfortable with the tour.
Appreciate it.
It sounds like we're creeping up from, we had $1 million estimate last time, we had 1.5, I think, for 3.2 megawatts.
Yeah, it was the million, I thought the million was just one generator.
I think it was 47. What were we looking at what was that one we were looking at?
Well, I've actually brought up several, but for reasons like some of them have not been available, they've been sold since then. And then like the 2.5 megawatt cat that I brought at the work session that night is too new to qualify to be a registered unit by hanging cats on. So I think we kind of want to exclude that one because I think we really want to have this registered, this or these be registered units.
And what you're talking about tonight, you got 2 units.
2 smaller units instead of 1 big one.
And what do they do?
1.6 megawatts each.
So, what Scott was referring to, so to install and everything, we're at 1.5.
I think I think we're looking at probably 1.5 for to install both of those.
In the new building.
Yes, in power plant 2. So it would not. I think we figured out a way to install both of them in the hole for the third unit.
Okay.
Yes.
So we wouldn't need another building.
No.
Okay. So, okay. So install and the 2 units would be about
Well, actually, we're coming out a little short from what we started out with. Short redemption.
No, because our other unit was, I think, 2.5 megawatt at 500,000, right?
Yeah, it's
5 or 6.
upper 60s. Yeah. That didn't include install or switchgear.
So this gives us 600 kilowatts. Roughly 700 kilowatts.
So when do those be available?
I know they have one of the units in-house now in Leavenworth is where their facility is, and they were expecting to get the other one like this week, and that's the original unit. So if it took procuring the new generators, I don't have a time frame for that. I'm assuming it would probably be, at least 6 months to be able to.
I was asking in case they were sold, again, before we had a chance.
Right. One thing about this company, and to give another update, I went to Iola 2 weeks ago and toured the facility, and he had put in 3 of these similar units at Iola, and I was impressed with the install. Talked to the power plant superintendent down there, and he had nothing but good things to say about this guy. So I feel real good about his installs. So.
Who is the power plant?
First name's Mike. Last name, I can't think of it right now. No.
So if I remember right, based on peak usage, over the last year or 2, I think we're just hitting 10% over our 9 megawatts occasionally in 6 days. So, any thought to just creeping up? Why the jump to 3.2? Why not, half of that, which will get us at 10%, and then the rest we put in as we see the growth? What's the downside of doing it that way?
The only downside I see is that everybody's wanting these units. So I think if we have a chance to get 2 of them and we can fit those 2 into the existing space we have, I think we should go forward with it. Kind of what I presented at the workshop was, basically based on a 3 megawatt upgrade this year or next. And so this is really that size, 3.2 for the 2 of them. And maybe that would push out the next install,
Yeah, that certainly would.
Right. Having too much isn't
You
necessarily a
have
bad
it.
thing.
Well, it is if you don't use it. It isn't when you need it to get it, but if you're not using it, it's not a good thing.
Unless we have the opportunity to sell capacity, which,
Yeah.
again, we can just go over that all.
Yeah. I get all that. So I'm just trying to think through it, and as we get into the whole, reserve discussion and see what we have in the electric fund, the number keeps creeping up, which means, obviously cost to utility bills. So I prefer not to spend more than we had to, or spread it out. That's, doesn't put us in, a bad situation, but maybe more palatable just from a utility bill rate perspective going forward. So that's just my thought process. I appreciate your sentiment about why now. And, I get it.
I think maybe what we do, Scott, is take another look at this new number in the finance committee to see the impact, because our last impact look was 4.1 right now, and we're going to do the reserve, what that would look like on a bond. But I think the sentiment that I felt anyways was that we didn't want to exceed a previous bond that is falling off. We want to make sure we want to try to save ourselves some money, while also providing the service that they're used to. So it might be something to take a look at. Ben, luckily Ben's here now, so he's here and all this, so I don't forget it. But
Yeah. And I think we'll have more, I think we'll have post-pandemic, hopefully, usage numbers that we really probably didn't see. I mean, for either direction they could go, more or less usage because people are not at home or they're out, at the office. But I think we'll have post-pandemic usage numbers this summer, and give us, I guess, more real-time information to make that decision on how close are we to the peak and, do we need all 3.2 megawatts? To me, that's, that helps, but you delay it too long and then you get in the crunch of actually having to make it happen, and then, are these units available? If these aren't, something else will. I think you've seen good deals come and go over the past 6 months. It's, and they don't last long.
It's constantly changing.
There seems to be something there if you look, long enough. So, I appreciate your input. But I do think we need to look at how this would fit in, either reserve or bond or combination, and what that would do to utility rates, because that's the other part of this conversation we have around budgeting is utility rates around water and wastewater. There's changes that need to be made. If we can avoid changes in the electric side, it's just, it's a cumulative impact to everybody's bill.
I'm also going to make an assumption that it would probably be cheaper to put 2 of them in at one time versus two smaller units at 2 separate times. But probably to some extent.
Pretty.
So Jeff, how does this generation affect for new subdivisions coming in?
Well, the more load we have, the more need we have for additional generation. So every bit of load we put on, we need to, to have that load plus 10% covered for capacity, and then also, if we want to recover, from losing our tie.
we've got any clarification on the subdivision across from the Davis?
I have not heard any response on that. And I know the person that I found out yesterday that the person that we're dealing with is leaving there.
Because that'll be, that's a fairly substantial size subdivision, so that'll impact the future projections of load. If Evergy keeps that territory.
I believe that project was about a 2-year project to get the industrial park, wasn't it? From start to finish? Yeah. It's a long-term deal.
Do what?
To purchase the property, the rights to sell for the industrial park.
And that was with the North Sixth Street purchase as well.
Yes. That was at the same time.
Okay, well, we'll look at it in budget. And then try out this.
And now, I mean, I think, yeah. I think we need to look at, with the new number and then just bring out what we see the ramifications of the utility bill of doing it one way or the other. Right? And if it's all reserve fund, there's no impact. Right? If there's a bond, there is impact.
Potential.
No, there's impact. Now, whether it's offsetting, but there is impact. We're spending money that we don't necessarily have to. In fact, we may have some falling off. So the impact to the citizen would be the same. But it's not correct. Yeah. Just semantics. Right? Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking on the subdivision across. You don't have to take that.
No, it's probably gonna be a discussion as we move through with that subdivision, especially with the ridge involved, is do we want that? And then do we want to include that in the ridge projection? To get that irrigated? Or do we just say, hey, sorry subdivision,
Well, yes.
across the highway from the schools, across the water. Several towers. 56 acres. That's the only one
Is that survey up for us?
no, will come from here.
Number 3,
Oh, no. No, that'll be a regular normal fire freestyle. I haven't seen any fire, I don't know. Schematics behind it. All right, you good there? Okay, next item under old business is the Baker University Street Alley vacate ordinance. This is the second reading for this ordinance. Discussed it last meeting. Any further discussion on this one?
So then they will own that section, so they will be paying it and all that.
It'll be private property at that point, since Baker owns both sides of the road. Any discussion on entertain a motion?
Make the motion on ordinance number 1447. Okay.
Been moved and seconded. Jared? Yes or no? Aye or no?
Yes.
Yes. Scott?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, new business reserve policy. Ben, are you here to present on that? Okay. Maybe come up to the podium.
I was ready. Your current policy is 25%, 90 days for utilities. Just some of the numbers as of March. Reserves and electrics, $3 million, which obviously is around 180 days. With 90 days, they cut it down to 1.5, so you're talking about like generation, it's right there in that ballpark. Water, you're at 3 days. We already know that from the last conversation we had. The current rate study has the water fund hitting the reserve level in 2025, based on 25 and 26, based on the current rate structure that we proposed to move forward with. Sewer, and that's around 587,000. Sewer is 542, and that would hit also in 2025, given the current rate structures. Those are slow increases to get to those levels. The positive behind that is you guys run your, you guys issue your debt based on GO, your annual appropriations, so you're not relying on revenues in the rating standpoint to support those bonds. So if you relied on your ratings and you have debt coverage, so that means you'd have to get to that reserve balance pretty fast. I mean, within the next 12 months, where you see a decrease, a rating decrease. In this case, it didn't happen that way. So you've got the luxury of actually spreading that out and have a plan to move forward with that, as we talked about last time, at the last meeting. The only other one I would be concerned about is the general fund. Right now, it's around 10% at $384,000.